There's something about this track that's weirdly making me emotional a little bit listening to it. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I am going to be reacting to the debut self-titled album from the band Palms. Now this is yet another side project of Chino Moreno, the lead singer of the band Deftones. I've already listened to Team Sleep and Crosses, which are two of his other side projects, and now we're on to Palms. I think some of you have mentioned in the comments that Palms kind of takes things in almost like a post-metal sort of direction. There might be some shoegazy elements on this one. I'm not sure. I'm really curious to listen to it and just see what it's going to sound like. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive right on into my reaction to Palms. Alright, so starting out with track 1 on Palms, we have Future Warrior. Right off the bat, it has a very cinematic nature to its sound. There's a nice softness to the tone of this one. It's very trance-inducing. Like there's almost just this slightly kind of muffled quality to the percussion. Alright, and then this is definitely Chino on vocals. I think they're using some vocal distortions, just slightly. That's what it sounds like. This song definitely does have some more hard-hitting parts, but the build-up is very subtle. It's almost like the tide coming in. Like it's so gradual, you don't really notice it as much. This part right here is reminding me a tiny little bit of Cherry Waves off of Saturday Night Wrist. I like that really distorted electric guitar sound here at the end. That was track 1, Future Warrior. Really such a great shoegazy kind of atmospheric sound to that one. It kind of reminded me of like a Deftones track, but drawn out and slowed down more. Like there were those amazing build-ups, but they just kind of came in more gradually instead of all of a sudden just hitting you with the energy. And I've got to say, as much as I love Chino's voice, to me the instrumentals were really what shone in that track. I loved the percussion, and the guitars too on that one just really stood out. I liked the sound of it overall, how they were kind of giving this like slightly muffled quality to the instrumentals. All right, moving on to track 2 now, we have Patagonia. Again, we've got like a little bit of distortion here on the vocals. It's kind of giving it this really cool, like echoey sound to it. In a way, the instrumentals are actually reminding me a lot of Infinite Granite by Deaf Heaven, like kind of a slightly more hard-hitting shoegaze sound. Alright, and now it's like it's just opening up with its sound. It's like the song is expanding almost. Yeah, there's something so ethereal about the sound of this one. It's like you're just kind of floating up in space, and there's almost this watery quality to the sound of it too. Track 2, Patagonia. Again, really relaxing, another great like trance-inducing song. The instrumentals kind of have like this rippling effect to their sound, if that makes sense, and there's kind of like a fuzziness to them. And then with the distortions on Chino's vocals, there's just kind of like this really watery sound that this album has. And the very start of Patagonia 2, it actually was kind of reminding me of the instrumental track Select Start, also off of Saturday Night Wrist by Deftones. I kind of picked up on some similarities a little bit with that track, and then toward the end it was reminding me of Deaf Heaven a lot, especially Infinite Granite by Deaf Heaven, with kind of more of those like post-rock shoegaze sounds. Alright, up next is going to be track 3 called Mission Sunset. These are some very interesting like electronic kind of distorted sound effects going on. I love that percussion in the background. And then the tone of this guitar, it's almost like little bursts of sunlight just coming in. There's like this really warm sound to the guitar. Now we've got some power coming into the vocals. It's almost like the chorus of all these tracks is like this high, like you've reached the top of a mountain or something, and then there's kind of like this simmering, like very low-key quality on the verses in the middle, and then it'll slowly build up again. It's like peaks and valleys, but it's very drawn out. Even Chino's vocals just sound like they're soaring on the chorus here. Like you're just rising up and floating above the world. This track almost has a Heart's Wires vibe to it at times. That was track 3, Mission Sunset. I loved that one. It was very, again, relaxing to listen to. I really liked the song structure of that one, how it just would like gradually, so gradually just build up into the chorus. You could hear it coming. And then the chorus itself was just this really soaring, like grandiose, beautiful part of the track. And they were doing that really effectively, like just taking it from those highs to the lows and back again. Moving on to track 4 now, we have Shortwave Radio. I love the instrumentals on this album. It's my favorite part. They've just got a really great tone to them. They're really balanced. They balance each other out. I've got to say, out of the 3 side projects of Chino's I've heard, I think Palms is the most cohesive in terms of an album. Like all of these tracks so far have a very similar sound, like they work really well together. Whereas Crosses and Team Sleep were a little bit more experimental. They were throwing a lot of different sounds and genres on those 2 albums. Man, I love the echoey quality that this album has. That was track 4, Shortwave Radio. I loved the tone of the guitar on that one. I think that was the standout. It's almost like the rest of this album, the percussion is kind of soft and more in the background, and then Chino's vocals have kind of that muffled quality, that echoiness to them. And then when you have that guitar come through, it's just like this really sharp burst of sound that just adds such a refreshing quality almost to the sound of this album. It's just really standing out to me. All right, moving on to track 5, we have Tropics. I really like the percussion here right at the start. Again, it's just really soft. There's a really clear quality to the sound on this track. I think this is the one on this album so far that sounded the least watery and muffled and echoey. That instrumental in the background, it might be a guitar, it's hard to tell. It's giving it this really beachy sound. Kind of reminds me of Beach House a little bit. I like how the lyrics are, I think, trying hard to contain it, and it's almost like he can't keep his vocals contained here on the chorus. They're just breaking free and like rising above something. Yeah, and that percussion, I love it. It's so subtle, but it adds so much to this album. That was track 5, Tropics. The way it ended there, I thought it was going to build up and we would have like a final chorus that burst out toward the end, but it didn't really do that. It kind of just ended with that really subtle, almost bridge there toward the end with that really awesome percussion, and then it kind of just faded out. But this whole album, the instrumentals and the vocals, everything just has this really slightly beachy, watery sound to it. That's the best way I can describe it. There's kind of like this really relaxed back and forth pattern, almost like the tide coming in and out. And moving on now to the last track on Palms, we have track 6 called Antarctic Handshake. This one's starting off a little bit different. It almost sounds a little bit more weirdly electronic in a way. There's something about this track that's weirdly making me emotional a little bit listening to it. Man, I love all of the little infusions of sound, like very subtly, that they're putting on this album. They're not very noticeable, but they're there, and they give it just enough of an impact to really make this album shine. Yeah, like that little almost humming violin-like sound that they're putting in the background. Alright, this track just changed a little bit. Now we've got more of that fuzziness, kind of a staticiness here. But then again, tonally, those instrumentals come through and it's like a burst of freshness. Track 6, Antarctic Handshake. That was a gorgeous song. It was almost like two parts. The first half of that, with Chino's vocals especially, they just had kind of this melancholy tone to them. It made me emotional listening to it. It just kind of had like this sadness to it. And then the second half of that track, it almost took on a more hopeful tone. You had like the slightly stronger, more impactful instrumentals coming in. They kind of had this really sharp, bright tone to them, which was almost like a sun ray like bursting through a storm cloud. That's just the vibe it was giving off. All right, well, that is going to conclude my reaction to Palms, yet another side project from the Deftones lead singer Chino Moreno. I really loved this album. It kind of started off and I was a little bit unsure of just like how relaxed and borderline shoegazy it was, but I ended up really enjoying this one. I really loved the first track, Future Warrior. I would say that is definitely a standout. I also loved the end of track 4, Shortwave Radio. It had this almost haunting quality to it, and then how it built up a little bit more. It was a little bit punchier of a track toward the end. And then I think my favorite track upon first listen is the last one, Antarctic Handshake, especially toward the beginning, just how melancholy it sounded. It kind of made me emotional, and it just had such a great tone to it. I loved Chino's vocals at the start of that one too. But yeah, I've really loved diving into these side projects of Chino's. They all definitely have a unique tone to them, but they're all equally good in my eyes. I've loved all three of them. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments what you think of Palms, and as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.